As you know, I love talking about politics. Can't pretend that I don't. Like, it absolutely fires me up to talk about the ideas and the future of the country. And I've got to say that there is something that's quite special whenever you're lucky enough to go, either as a school kid or as a fully fledged adult, to that beautiful building in Canberra. It's a wonderful cathedral of freedom, but it is being cheapened by the stunts of this new parliament. The new parliament, to be honest, looks more like the human version of Twitter, with endless showing off and carrying on rather than serious people who've been given the confidence of their community to write the laws that build the future of our country. What am I talking about? Well, in the past week, of course, there was Lydia Thorpe with the Black Power salute and refusing to pledge allegiance to the Queen until she eventually turned around and referred to the heirs and successors. There's, of course, one of the Tiffany Teals who was barking like a Karen if you weren't wearing a face mask.
Can the Minister please explain how he proposes to manage the oncoming national significant burden of disability and chronic illness? Put your masks on. From repeated infection.
Order.
From repeated infection with COVID-19.
Remember when these people pretended to be former Liberal voters? I would imagine they never have. Of course, there's David Pocock, who's the Tiffany Teal in the Senate. Well, he had to because he's, of course, a straight, heterosexual, white male who played footy. What's going to be special for him? Oh, that's right, I'll bring the interpreter in for the deaf community, as if they couldn't read the captions on the bottom of the screen of which he was giving his speech. Today, a baby was brought onto the floor of Parliament, and I'm not going to carry on that there's no need for work-life balance. But this is a stunt. Every time it's a stunt. And I'm not going to debate it, but it's just a stunt. Yes, well done. Congratulations to you. And then, of course, when inflation is at a 32-year high, we should have been talking about cost of living like they promised they would do before the election. Instead, it was charity touch football that they were all playing amongst themselves in the giant boarding house there in Canberra. And then, of course, there was the debate about a bloke whether he was wearing a tie or not. Literally, our parliament spent more time debating whether this bloke should wear a tie or not. By the way, I think his lack of tie is balanced out by the guy who's sitting behind the Karen who's wearing a bow tie. I think maybe both of them might be on the little bit of extremes there, and somewhere in the middle is decorum. But they actually debated the dress code in Canberra this week.
Mr Speaker, I draw your attention to the state of undress of the member.
Resume your seat. Resume your seat. That's not a point of order. Resume your seat.
Now, all of this is more like the last day of term, not the first week of a new parliament. Now, I don't want them all to be robots, and I do want them to fire up, but their priorities are all about look at me, not I'm here for you. And that's what frustrates me. That's why I talk about inflation every night. It's the worst it's been in 32 years. Interest rates have gone up 4 times this year, and that's the fastest growth in interest rates that we've had in a generation. There are people who are not using their oven because they want to cut back on their power. There are people who are turning off power at the fuse box because they can't afford the bill. For those people to be pushed to the side so these people who have a guaranteed income for the next 3 years of $600,000 is a disgrace. Now, I get it. Not every time and everything that every person in Parliament, it will be something that you and I will agree with. But when the standard drops to this look at me garbage, to competing for how the Roman Colosseum of idiots on Twitter who thumbs up and thumbs down everything, it frankly cheapens our democracy. Now, it will get worse before it gets better, but so much for the new broom of a new parliament.